And we are recording in progress. I want to call this meeting to order. The roll call is Gail, Michael, and Karen are here. Lori said she was going to be traveling, but she tried to come in on Zoom, and Rob is ill, so he isn't going to make it. I want to reiterate what I talked about at the beginning before we started recording is we need to be very careful about what we say while we're recording. This is public and will be seen by the public, and so we want to make sure that we may have opinions, but we want to remain strong neutrals while we represent N&E. Okay, so the first step here is approving our agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
And I'll second.
Okay. And then we want to approve the minutes from March 20th that were attached.
I'll move to approve those minutes.
Second.
Okay, I read them, they all look fine to me also. All righty. Hang on a second, we got 4 people here. We got 1 attendee. And we're gonna do Gail, what is member announcements? That's committee member announcements. Okay, we do have 1 attendee, and we'll get to them in just a second if they have comments or want to come in and comment. But are there any entity member announcements? Other than my announcement was that the board meeting that was going to hear our N&E manual changes stuff tomorrow night in a special board meeting got canceled because 3 board members didn't want to give up an hour of their time.
That
And
would
they
still
wanted-
leave a quorum.
it was chosen that because 3 didn't want to come, they weren't going to have it. That was AJ's call. And I think also AJ isn't feeling well. He got injured or something and he's dealing with that. So they decided to cancel tomorrow night, and they're going to jam us our N&E stuff in new business, I guess, on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Any other announcements? Okay, and we can go on to property owners' comments, and I'm gonna go over here and go to attendees. It's Nancy. Nancy, did you want to talk? Her microphone's off, so I don't know if she wants to talk or not.
Maybe just,
Is she muted?
Yes.
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess she's watching.
Okay.
I suppose if she wanted to talk, she could raise her hand and I could let her in.
yeah, she can do that.
Okay, this is my first doing the thing on here. So, okay, so at any rate, I have Nancy here on the screen and she can talk. If she wants to talk, she has to raise her hand. Okay. Old business. So our old business is the status of the board approval of the N&E manual changes. So there is no status change. It's all in their hands. I'm assuming that they have it back from AJ having the attorney looking at it. And we were going to look at it tomorrow night. That all got canceled. And so we're going to look at it Thursday night. So we will have an answer to that then.
I was gonna ask, can you, assuming you have it back, can you see that? See what his comments were so that you're prepared for any changes that might be coming our way?
I could ask by AJ's comment in a text to me, it just said that I think the proposed changes, he says, I think the proposed changes are pretty self-explanatory, so I really don't think there'll be much in the way of questions. So it didn't sound like there was anything that we had put in there was attorney fodder
Yeah,
or anything.
Yeah.
But I can't, I'll send him a text again and say, what was the attorney's answer so that I can have it or whatever ahead of time.
yeah. I think if he just had any feedback, if you at least had that, I think it would be good, helpful to have.
Okay, so I'll make a note here, what the attorney say. Okay. Any other comments on that status of our entity manual changes?
No.
And Gail, you did get what I sent to the board, right? You got that from
Yes, I
Karen?
did. I
'Cause-
did.
Yeah, it was just like one sentence, I think, was reworded and then added.
Well, since we're talking about this, I know I asked you, Michael, but now we have Karen here in the, at least a quorum of the committee. Would it make any sense to append to our March minutes or a draft that we sent out so that if anyone wanted to see it, at least it would be part of our minutes? That was our recommendation.
Oh, yeah. I like that idea of attaching it to our minutes, the final
Yeah,
version.
Michael maybe wasn't quite clear. He thought maybe he should wait or we should wait. Oh, he can speak to his own point of view.
Warned, what we were asking to do wasn't like, the end of the world or anything. They were very simple little fine tunings to a couple of wording things that, and all, I don't see, they're really not, they're things that we asked, they haven't been approved, so I'm kind of torn in half on should we put them out there or should we not? I don't want to create a can of worms. I don't want to hide anything either. But I think we should wait till after and just, we can put out what was there and then what we did in our next meeting. That's my opinion, but if you two feel it's okay, then.
Well,
this
I
is,
guess, I think my thought on this was only that we put in quite a bit of time going over it, try to be very careful. And I just thought it might be an opportunity for the community to at least see our recommended changes.
Okay.
Hopefully, from what you're saying, Michael, they'll be accepted. As you say, there's hardly anything controversial about them. I had thought about it at the time, but I hadn't done the minutes right after a meeting. I try and do that usually. And so I didn't
But
have.
you're gonna add though, that little, or what we submitted to the board, you're gonna add it to tonight's meeting minutes.
I was proposing to add it to the last meeting when we approved it as an addendum. That's what, that was when we went over it so carefully in such detail and then arrived at a consensus that this is what we would recommend.
Can we change the minutes from last meeting now that we already approved them?
It's an addendum. I don't know. We could attach them to this meeting.
Why don't we attach them to this meeting's minutes
Okay.
as this is what we were in our line here, status of approval for entity manual changes, and we could put underneath that, this is
I'll
what we,
I'll move that we add them to tonight's meeting.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah. I agree with that, just for having a record. I mean, they should theoretically be attached to Thursday night's board meeting minutes.
It
Mhm,
will probably
Or
will
not
be.
meeting minutes, meeting agenda
mhm.
Yeah.
to review. But I like the idea of just having it attached to some official meeting minutes of ours, just as a record. Sometimes, when emails and stuff go back and forth, which was the version or whatever, and this way we'll always have, this was the version that was sent to
Mhm.
the board. And
Sounds good to me.
then
Okay, well, okay, that was a motion. Karen seconded. Are we calling for a vote? All in favor? Okay. Alrighty. Well, I am a big fan of, trying to keep the information available.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hide anything, like I'm trying, sneak around or hear anything. I want it all out front and in the open, the reasons why and everything.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, attach it. I think that's a good idea. And I have not seen Thursday night. Today is Monday, so the agenda probably for
okay.
Thursday won't be posted until Thursday after 5 or Tuesday after 5 is
Mhm,
what I find. They wait till the very end of the day, Tuesday,
mhm, in case there are
for
changes.
that 48-hour mark. They have till 7 o'clock Tuesday to get them up. So,
Mhm.
all right. And I'll send Joanne a note that could, or I'll ask AJ, can our changes be added to the agenda?
The agenda
Yeah,
packet?
The agenda packet, I would think so, if they're
Should
going to
be.
be discussed by the board.
Yeah.
But
They
they
should
maybe
be.
don't have them, that's part of it. Well, they do have them, Michael, because you submitted them, but at any rate.
They probably should be in there. Everything else that they're gonna do is in there. So
Mhm.
yeah, probably gonna be in there.
Okay.
Okay,
We
so
had-
moving on. Pardon me?
I was gonna say, I thought we had a pretty short agenda actually for this meeting. We were going to talk about the timeline and assignments going forward for the summer.
Yeah, our next item on here was review the 2023 AGM calendar.
Mhm,
I've asked for this
mhm,
4 times.
Mhm.
So I can get them to you guys. It's a
mhm,
really nice calendar that Joanne made up. It's really big. But I haven't got any reply 4 times to, could you print them for me and I'll come by and pick them up? So I don't know.
Can you make
But
copies, Michael? And could you make copies and,
I guess I could go over to the office and what happened? Something happened on my page here. Okay. It's really big.
Mhm.
what is it, legal size or something even bigger?
It's bigger than legal size. This
Uh-huh.
is
Like poster size?
legal
Mhm.
size.
Wow.
But it's really cool because I was gonna put it up here on the wall where I could just see it because it has everything color wise and it's color coded over on the calendar and all that. I will get you each one of these by hook or by crook somehow. But basically what I see was we really gotta kind of watch for is in May,
Mhm.
we need to have a letter ready by the end of May. So the first day of June. I don't know when the View actually comes out. I have a thing in my file there that tells me, it said that I thought it was around June 23rd that the View comes out from
Well, that would be
when
the,
Linda sent me a file of how she did it, and I think it said in there that somewhere around June 20th, the View will come out. So we have to have our letter in the early part of June announcing the AGM, and it's open for candidates to run for the board, for NNE, and for ACC. And then we
when,
send it to the View, so they have it the first part of June, then they'll get it out in June's View. Because the
Right.
open candidate application period opens on July 5th.
okay. So I
That's
think,
a-
That means that we have a May 23rd deadline to get this
yeah,
letter to the Views.
Okay,
yeah.
The Views likes to work with the 23rd, even though it seems to me they sometimes come out almost a week late.
Oh, more than that lately.
Mhm.
I think we get them like at the 10th or even later sometimes. So
yeah,
I'm not
somewhere
sure.
between the 10th and the 20th, I usually get mine.
Yeah, it's late. It used to be between like the 5th and the 10th, but it's gotten pushed out later
So
and
we
later.
should get this letter to them for the July or for the June.
June.
Okay, so we want it at the end of May, we want to
May.
get it to them for the June View. All right.
Well, I'll volunteer to write that letter and
Okay,
then,
I have a copy that Linda had. If I'll get it to you, and then you can look at it and make it yours.
okay. I don't know if we need a motion or anything on that.
I don't, I don't think so. I
No,
think
it's
you
just
can
part of,
just,
it's part of the procedure
Yeah.
that's gone on forever here.
Okay, so, well, the thing is, I'd like to volunteer to write it and then maybe pass it by the board members for input, because we'll meet. Let's see, when do we meet in May? We meet early because of Memorial Day, right? So we're meeting not the last Monday, but the second Monday. We meet on the 22nd.
We're
Yeah,
meeting
that's
on the
actually pretty
22nd
good.
of May.
If we meet on May 22nd, then that would give us time to formally approve the letter that we then submit the next day.
yeah. And I think if we let, is it Bill Helm now know, like this is coming, I think sometimes giving him a heads up that like this
Yeah.
is official,
Yeah.
Sun Valley, whatever. And plan for,
Okay.
we don't have to send him content, but just to know that it's coming
Right.
and,
Right, right,
So
right.
Gail, you're gonna handle that whole thing, sending him a heads up and then writing the letter, and then we'll approve it on the 22nd and get it out. Email it to him on the May 23rd.
Perfect.
Okay, sounds awesome. So that's our only really big thing that we need to watch right now. In June, July, we can iron out a lot more of this, and I'll get you a calendar so that you can all see it. I do have the final contract from Unilec that has all the dates in it. Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Friday at noon, they will get their mail and jump on an airplane and get up here. And then Friday at noon, Unilec's mail will be cut off. And they'll jump on a plane about 1 o'clock and get up here in the afternoon. And then Friday night at 4:30, our Dropbox will be closed, and we'll get everything out of it and move the Dropbox into the closet downstairs, and we'll be all set. So that's those are the other two dates.
okay. And then we have a candidate opening the envelopes. When is that? Is that September?
That's
When we-
usually the day after Labor Day, or at least was
Okay.
last time. The evening.
Candidate closes the day after Labor Day. I have it on here.
So September 5th,
Mhm.
that when we do it?
Application deadline is September 5th, yes, and at that time, we will take everything, we'll meet at the office, take everything. Last time Nancy, Steve and I were there, and Joanne vetted everybody, and we put the names in a hat, drew them out, and had our ballot order.
Mhm.
And then all that needs to be gotten out, just zippity boo bang on the 8th to Unilec.
Okay.
Michael,
there
I wonder
any-
if you could
oh.
share the approved and final Unilect contract with the committee, just so that we have it if we need to refer to it.
I have a copy of it in my folder here on my computer. I'll send them out.
Is it electronic?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, maybe just share it with the committee. I mean, I think that's every time, and then we just need the exact data point or whatever, if we're having a discussion, so that we're doing this according to Hoyle. Although no one says that anymore, but I see Karen smiling.
I've heard
I'll
the
send you
phrase, but
guys
I
a-
don't know what it refers to.
Oh, it
I'll
refers
send
to
you,
bridge,
I'll
I
send you
believe.
that.
Yeah,
What does it refer to?
to bridge, the game of bridge, I believe.
Oh, okay.
It's the manual on like what you can and can't do.
Okay.
Who's Hoyle? Why does anyone care about what he says? Oh, well.
So do we have anything between the views letter for June and the opening of the candidate besides just communication to get people to apply and know it's coming, etc.?
Yeah, July 5th, we opened candidate applications. There's some board budget and finance committee stuff, capital budget stuff, our regular meeting. We're gonna have a town hall on September 19th. August, it says 50th celebration town hall. 8/19. So we may have an opportunity there to encourage people. They still have time to run for
Mhm.
positions. On the board meeting on 8/24, The AGM agenda, measures, ballots, and all that will be reviewed. And on 8/25, Inani chair and the GM begin to work on the draft election booklet, which actually is already really all done. They have it already at Unilec. We just have to change the names and the measures and stuff in it. We have our 9/5 is our lottery. End of application deadline in our draw lottery. And we'll submit, we have it. We also have to set a date, which I would like it to be 9/7. Be the last day that you can submit your photos, biographies, and vision statements. If we do this properly, we can, in the application packet, put a little note in it that says, if you'd like to send your photo, bio, and vision statement all at once, it makes it go so much simpler. You could send it with your application.
Well, I think we request that in our NNE and manual change.
Yes, that was one of the changes, but still, we can add that, but we'll work once we get to there of doing that. Because
But let me
Linda said she did it and people were more than willing to get it in early. There wasn't a big rush at the end normally.
Well, maybe a reminder then, because it would be different from the past, but
Yes.
our idea is to keep that calendar tight so that we, the whole mailing thing gets
Yep.
done, pushed up a little bit. But Michael, people don't have till the 7th to submit stuff. They have to submit it by the 5th, correct?
Applications close on the 5th. Applications close on the 5th.
Right.
We vet everybody and draw the ballot order, and they could have a day after to get their bio. They're not an application, but their bio, picture, and vision statement in.
I thought in our revised thing that we asked them to send everything when they apply.
Okay, well, right now by our calendar, we haven't got that on there, so we can move that up once we get it all approved.
Yeah, if it's approved.
Yes.
And what was my other thought? But they have until the 7th to withdraw.
Yes. That
So
was the other thought. 2 days.
Mhm.
So assuming this gets approved, our changes to the entity manual, and maybe even if they don't, we might opt to put some wording in there, but we
Mhm.
might want to reword. Isn't there a letter that goes with the candidate packet that tells them what's submitted? And so we probably want to put
Mhm.
something in there to submit it
Yeah.
all together if possible.
Would you like to download that? Letters on the website?
Okay.
I think it's already that's already on, so it's last year's, I would suppose. But
Yeah.
Karen, if you'd like to look at it and see if there's any changes that need to be made to it, that would be
Yeah,
cool.
I'll do that.
Okay. All right. And then we're going to try to get everything off to Unilect no later than the 11th. And that gives them, they said, Unilect said the 14th, but if we can get everything to them on the 11th, they'll have everything done and out and things out in the mail on whatever day it was. I can't remember. It was like the 27th. They'll have the material mailed out, which is a week earlier than last year. I think it was.
That'll be great.
And we need to work on the wording of what we're going to put on there for mailing deadlines.
I thought we approved that last time.
Well,
No.
we probably did, but we want to make sure we have it all set and ready of our day. I'm sure we do. It's in on another page in my folder here, but we want to make sure we have all that wording ironed out. So we can do that in the next couple meetings. Just look at our wording and we could actually send it to Catherine and have her say yes or no, that could fit on there. And we don't want to raise our cost or anything.
Mhm.
And is there room and whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, apropos of, relating to the candidates for the AGM, as you and I talked about a little bit earlier, it would be nice, say, if there is going to be this 50th celebration on, did you say August 19th? If we could have a table and maybe be available to talk to people about, you know, why it's really important to participate, you know, to contribute if you can, not everyone can. And then, you know, info about when the board, when NNE, when ACC meet and what people actually do, just to try and hopefully encourage more people to step up, because it is, I think it's a big commitment to step up. It's a time commitment. And Karen, someone like you with little kids and not so little anymore, I guess,
Not little.
yeah, in school, but you know, it can be hard for people with young kids to do it, or people who work full time, two working parents and so forth. But nonetheless, people do find the time. Some find the time to do it. So I just thought something that we could do that would be, we might be there. We might ask any board member who wanted to be there and talk about the, you know, what it was like to be on the board, the time commitment, et cetera. Just a
Mhm.
thought. But
A note on here to ask, is it okay at the 50th anniversary if NNE solicits candidates for NNE, ACC and the board, you know, or hand out some materials or whatever?
mhm,
Just
Is
some
that- would that be
information.
acceptable?
mhm.
Do you has there been any discussion about what this 50th anniversary thing is? Is it just the town hall? Is there fun?
We
Is there-
discussed it 2 months ago and said, yes, well, it came up in the discussion that we had on committees.
Okay.
And they said, yes, we would like to have a communication committee. Joanne has funds that were approved for working on the website. She has a company working on the website and the webpage and the stuff like that. And they said that, yes, then that committee could help, you know, get the information out for this. This is our 50th anniversary. They wanted to have a gala event. And
Last time?
it's all just been
Bring the
to the
kids.
wayside. It's all, nothing's been said about it since. And we've been bringing up different
Yeah.
members have said, what about this committee stuff? What about the communication committee? What
Mhm.
about emergency preparedness? And I said, well, I got changes for the NNE that need to be discussed. Can we get back to committees? And that's what we were going to do last night or tomorrow night, but now it's not going to happen. And I don't know what's going to happen Thursday, but they are going to put the NNE stuff on Thursday.
Gail, do you remember when we used to have committee updates monthly?
Yes,
Did
of course.
they, on your board, like every committee gave an update?
Every committee
month.
chair gave a little
Yeah.
brief discussion, and sometimes there was pending stuff.
Yep.
Oh, I know. Speaking of dates for us, here's some dates we haven't set. But I think that we did put it in the NNE manual change. I'm very sure we did, which is NNE would like to choose a weekday night and maybe a weekend afternoon for these candidate forums and be in charge of it, only because, first of all, I mean, that is our role. That is our role to run the election, to recruit and et cetera. But then number two, so communication, if communication is beefed up, or what, I'm sure there's a better term for it, by that time, yes, perhaps they could do it, but they won't be as cognizant of the whole process as we are, who've been, in it, immersed from the beginning. So we need to choose some dates. And for me, I felt that the candidates forum were so late that I delayed voting because I truly wanted to meet the candidates. I didn't know them at all. And I would think if we could do that earlier, like maybe one in September and then one in early October, so that for those who wish to see who the people are.
Yeah.
It was discussed at the meeting, and AJ was all for the idea of NNE handling the candidate forums, not the communication committee. He
Good.
said, you guys are the actually ones that are dealing with it. You'll have better information and you should be the ones. He was all for the idea of NNE handling the candidate forums. And I'll bring that up. I have a note here to bring it up. And I also had that note here about town hall or candidate forums that the board president was for the idea of any handling the candidate forums. And I had mentioned 3. I said 1 in a daytime, 1 in an evening, and 1 on a weekend. And so we could set them up at earlier or whatever we decide, but we have time to work on that. So if somebody would like to look at a calendar and pick out tentative dates for that, go for it. Do you want to look at that, Gail? Do you have
I
time?
could look at it, but I know traditionally we have 2, not 3. I mean, the reality is 3 is half again as much labor.
Well, actually, this last year we had 4 or 5, only 2 of them were Sudden Valley sponsored candidate forums,
yeah,
and
we
the
had our
other
own
3 were
informal
just the
things, yeah.
candidates threw them at
Exactly. Yeah. We
El
and-
Agave, and they were great. I went to all 3 of them, and we got to hear a lot. People
Yeah.
spoke, and you got to hear what the homeowners felt, and I thought they were awesome. I personally would like to see 3,
Mhm.
and I know Cruz enjoyed the extra business.
It was just getting
So,
warmed up. Okay, we'll have one on a weekday evening. We'll have one on a weekend afternoon. And then we'll have one with drinks and tacos and tostitos and et cetera, cruises
Okay.
to be determined.
I think we could have a more informal one, but the only thing I'd say about trying to do one in the day, which I like that idea because it accommodates more people's schedules, is depending on who your candidate pool is, you
Mhm.
might have a hard time getting a candidates there.
For
If
during
it's a
the day,
week.
during a week.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if we could do one, if there would be a way we could do one on Zoom, have the candidates all there and people come in, and I mean,
Oh, we probably could do a remote one.
and
Well,
I
we-
mean, these are just ideas. I mean,
But last year we did a remote one, and I personally, having probably been to most of the candidate forums, well, a lot of them, we couldn't even see whichever candidate, like Lori, I believe, we had zoomed in, but no one could see her. We could kind of hear her. Well,
Yeah,
we have more time to decide on this. I definitely am
Yeah.
up for 2. And it's true, the one at Cruises was a lot of fun. I wonder if that had to be just like not a formal and official one, but just Michael, you've gone silent on me. You're silent.
I'm silent.
quiet.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, we could ask, do they have to be Sudden Valley approved, or can N&E set up? Are we going to be in charge of this, or is it board approved?
I think that's a very sensitive issue, Michael, that we have to thread our way through, because the
Okay.
reality is the board signs the checks, the board, makes the space available. We might, in theory, be independent of the board, but obviously we're all part of the same Sudden Valley organizational structure and sort of have to work together.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's a check involved. Nobody gets paid for showing up.
Did I say check?
You said the board signs the checks.
Well, that gives them a lot of power, though. It means
Yeah.
that, if you sign the check and the contract, you
Yeah.
have a lot of authority over the performance.
Well, I will ask what their opinions are of N&E handling the candidate forums, what they expect, what they'll approve, and if they only want to approve 2, can we have a couple informal ones or one informal one also? Or if it's our time,
Yeah. I mean,
does it matter? I mean,
if not, the candidates can always do it themselves, but I really did like the informal. It was almost like a meet and greet reception, like,
I went to
like we
all of
have-
them. They were great. I
Yeah.
thought they were really good.
and I think they kind of attract maybe some people that don't want to just go sit and listen to a boring, not boring, the forums are good, but you know what I mean? Like sit and just ask questions, like that's a little intimidating, but when you get it in a little bit more
Right.
casual environment. There were people that I spoke to that would not have ever gone to a forum and asked a question,
Yep.
but they got their questions answered because it was more casual and more personal, and they were able to actually interact with the candidates and kind of get
Yeah.
a feel for them. And they really liked that. So if we can't do it, I would still encourage the candidates to do it, because
And
I
I
think,
enjoyed
valuable.
going because I had the NNE manual with me, and when people were asking things or
Mhm.
quoting things, I said, no, that's not true. This is what the manual says.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the homeowners that were there were very appreciative that I showed them in black and white, this is what it says. What you're hearing on Facebook and all that is not true. I mean, I'm here
Yeah.
with this for this purpose. I want you to understand what the process really is.
Mhm.
And it's not, this isn't Facebook. This is
Yeah,
the reality of what we're working out of.
that's always helpful to have the actual policy, written document,
Yeah.
fact, whatever is always
I had
helpful.
the manual with me with the board,
Yeah.
with the bylaws and the NNE manual right there to answer those
Yeah.
questions.
That's really good.
Okay,
Alrighty.
so we looked at the calendar. We've got some things mapped out here. We were gonna ID some summer responsibilities, which I think we have given some out. I don't remember what Rob's suggestion was.
He
me go back.
suggested that we do this. That was
Okay,
only a suggestion, that we,
okay.
that we
Well-
assign the responsibilities.
We will find something for Rob to do and Lori to do as we get in here a little bit more. And all, but I think we got everything pretty well mapped out, and we're
Mhm.
just waiting on Thursday night's meeting now instead of
Mhm.
Tuesday night's meeting to know where we're at on mini manual changes, which I don't think we're asking for anything improper or heavy duty or anything. We're just making a couple of changes so that in the future, another election, people could say, well, how do we do this? Like, well, this is what it says in the manual, not how
Mhm.
we did it in the past, but it says what we did it by the manual.
Yeah,
Well, and I
just-
think also an overriding goal was to really tighten the timeline insofar as we could, to allow more votes to arrive
Yes.
timely.
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
really the critical thing that guided us, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that and how to deal with late withdrawals, because that then kind of altered the voting, really. Yeah.
I think it's still kind of all in the same vein, is enabling member votes to count, to be productive, I guess. I mean, that's not to say that somebody can't and doesn't have valid reasons for voting for someone that has withdrawn, but they should at least
Be aware.
know,
Mhm.
be aware.
And it's like pulling eye teeth to get people to vote.
Mhm,
The largest vote we ever had out here was on the dues
mhm.
limit bylaw change.
Mhm.
And so when you only get about a third of the people voting anyway, you really want to make sure all their votes count. I mean, they took the time to
Yeah.
open the paper up and fill it out and send it back. I want to make them count. And there were
Right.
over 100 in the last election that didn't get counted. And so I don't really want that to happen this year. If at all, if we get anything we can do to have every vote count.
Right, because that just discourages people further.
Yeah, it does. Okay, and so we will still look at assigning committee members little tasks. There is a voter guide that we can go over and look at, and a recruitment announcement, and you're gonna look at that, right, Karen?
I'm gonna look, Gail's gonna write the letter for the views, and I'm gonna look at the letter that goes with
The application letter. Okay,
Mhm.
that'll take care of those for right now. All right. And so and I think Gail and I kind of went back 3 elections and looked at everything, and we only have 3 openings on the board this year. There'll be 3 candidates open this year.
So it's, who's leaving? Brian, Asia,
And
Nancy?
Nancy. Nancy and Asia got 1-year terms, and Brian is up with his term, so they can run again but there'll be 3 openings.
And
However
then how
that,
many on NNE, I guess?
NNE only has actually 1 person that's
Wow.
been voted in, so there's 4 openings.
Okay,
And by
And
the
then-
bylaws, I can stay as long as I want
until someone,
unless 4
gets
people
voted
are
in.
elected, then I'm pushed out.
okay.
So,
And
and
then,
then ACC only has 2 people on ACC that were voted in, and they have a
But
couple
they've
of
attracted a
volunteers.
few more appointed members, haven't they?
Well, they've got same volunteers that were appointed, but they
Yeah.
weren't elected,
Mhm.
so. There's whatever openings for that. What is there, 6
Several.
people on that?
well, is Keith done? Like, is his term, I mean, I'm assuming the same applies, but is Keith's term ending?
I'll have to go look. I wasn't sure when Keith got I didn't really look at Keith. I was looking at board members.
Yeah,
We can go back and look really. I have the last 3 election.
I'm just curious.
okay.
I can look it up too, so.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right. So I think we're good here. Anybody have anything they want to
Well, I
add
think-
or?
Just to reiterate, because we've already discussed it, Michael, if you have the opportunity to find out about the 50th anniversary, and there would be an opportunity for NNE to perhaps have a table and, try and talk to people about what's involved if you do run and are elected,
Mhm.
kind of commitment you're signing up for.
Yeah, I think that would be
3
good.
notes on my agenda here that have asterisks by them that I need to ask about.
Mhm.
The 50th anniversary, and I want to make sure that our NNE changes are in Thursday night's packet and candidate forum.
Mhm.
What are their thoughts on that? Just to get people thinking about, what do you, if NNE is going to handle it, what are you expecting out of us? Or what can we do? What can we plan? So,
And ask to see if there's any feedback from the attorney, if there's anything.
oh yes, I have that
No
here too, but
wording.
I didn't put a star by it. So the attorney's opinion. All right. So I got 4 asterisks.
All right. Did
Of
you
course.
ever ask for, what was the opinion about? There was something that we had discussed before and they're like, we got under the attorney's advice. Do you remember what the topic was?
Well, we never knew exactly because it was not shared
I
with.
don't know what the question was or what the answer was, but it had to do with stepping down from NNE to run for the board. And
Oh, okay.
I think it had to do with informing the homeowners that a candidate had dropped out.
Okay, so you still
I
haven't seen
have
that?
asked. I
Yeah,
haven't
okay.
got an answer.
Okay, well,
But
thanks
I
for
will keep
asking.
asking.
Yep. I'm just curious, I mean, because some of the changes we made had to do with those topics, and if there was already an opinion on that, I mean, that certainly would have saved our time, but it sounds like what we're asking for according to AJ, isn't super controversial, so hopefully it's nothing that would go against, but I sure would love for us to have access, or at least any opinions related to NNE or elections. It sure would be helpful for us to have those so that we're all operating from the same set of facts. But
Mhm.
Okay,
what can you do?
okay. All righty.
Well, there being no more business, I will move to adjourn.
Second that. I don't even know if that one needs a second, but
Okay, before
not.
anybody does anything, don't move here because I have to make sure that, okay, at 7:21, we are pause, stop, and we're gonna
Adjourned.
stop recording. Are you sure
Mhm.
you want to stop recording?